Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Updates. I'm John Oliveira, Commissioner at the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. And Happy New Year. And as we kick off the new year, we have a very important birthday in the month of January. It's Louis Braille. You've all have heard about Louis Braille, and he developed a system that had a tremendous impact on literacy for the blind community. And he felt that since he couldn't use his eyes, that his fingers would have to be the way that he would gather information. And so he developed this system. This morning, I have with me Justine Muir, our Deputy Commissioner here at the Commission for the Blind. And she and I will talk a bit about Louis Braille and give you some information about him that you did not know. Maybe some of it you did know, but hopefully you'll learn something new today. So, Justine, where was Louis born?
Louis was born in Copenhagen, France, in 1809.
And is that some probably near Paris, maybe?
It is actually, yes. It's pretty close to Paris.
Mm-hmm. Now, he wasn't blind when he was born. He had perfect vision. Tell us about what caused his blindness.
Yes, that's correct. He was not born blind. It was actually at the age of 3 that there was an accident in his father's workshop with a tool that caused him to lose the vision at that time in one eye. And then pretty shortly after, an infection took the remaining sight in his other eye at that point. So age 3.
Yeah, it must have been real difficult for, especially in that time back in the 1800s. And as we know it today, all the technology we have today, there was nothing really available back then. So how did he start to get his education?
Sure. So he received a scholarship to attend the Royal Institute for Blind Youth in Paris. And Louis was very, very bright. He excelled in his studies. He was really noted as being a scholar from quite a young age. So it was at the Royal Institute where he first started to explore really and to kind of begin his work creating a system for individuals who are blind to read.
Yeah, I understand before Braille that they would try to emboss the letters and you would try to feel it out. And there was only like 1 or 2 of these Braille books floating around. It was very minimal.
Yes.
And I guess he really felt strongly that he had to come up with a better system.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
how did he come up with this the system that we know today?
So he was really inspired by a code that was called night writing, and it was developed by Charles Barbier. And basically, I believe it was on exhibit actually at the school. So that's how that's how he, kind of became aware of it. And basically, with night writing, a message was coded in dots that symbolized phonetic sounds. And at the time, it was embossed on cardboard. So he kind of took that system and really started his work refining it, simplifying it a bit, and working on the code that way.
Wow, that's amazing. And then he must have fine-tuned those dots into the 6 dots that we all know form most of the Braille characters, letters, and other special symbols that exist in Braille today.
Exactly. And he was 15 years old by the time he had completed the 6-dot Braille code. So I think when we all take a moment to think about maybe what we were doing at age 15 or a 15-year-old that we know, it's quite remarkable either way.
Yeah.
But at age 15 to have developed the Braille system that was an absolute game changer. It's very remarkable.
Now,
So
is the Braille system that he invented also available in other languages other than, well, he was French, so I guess he may have invented it in France, right? In
yeah,
French first.
yes, absolutely. So I'll share a little bit about how it works. So Braille is based on, as we said, a it's a 6 dot code. So it's based on six raised dots that are arranged in a 2 by 3 grid. And basically the presence of a dot or the absence of a dot in any of those 6 positions represents a different character. So basically, each dot corresponds to a specific letter, number, even a punctuation mark or a symbol. And it's read by touch, and it allows individuals who are blind to read, write, and communicate. And it is used worldwide, so it's been adapted to nearly every single language in the world.
All right. That's quite a versatile system. And to be developed by a 15-year-old youth is
Mhm.
tremendous. So we're talking about reading. We haven't talked about how to write Braille.
Mhm.
How did Lewis write Braille back in those times in the 1800s?
So he started his work on what we now call a slate and stylus. So a slate and stylus is a pretty simple manual tool used for writing Braille. The slate is generally made of material that could be metal or a thick plastic. And the stylus is a little tool that is used to make the indents through the paper via the slate. And that is it's fairly small generally, but most individuals can only write a few lines using a slate and stylus. And compared to other ways that we have now of writing, it's the most manual and probably the most time-consuming way to manually form every single dot.
But you could also say it's one of the most portable ways. I guess they were talking about portable device. The slate and stylus could go in your pocket and travel where you went.
Yes,
So,
yes, it is
so
the most
that's great. So
portable.
with everything is there's evolution, and
Mhm.
I am familiar with the slate and stylus. It can work well for many folks. It is a bit slow for others, and so here came the Perkins Brailler, and that sort of revolutionized how Braille is was written.
Yes, the Perkins Brailler was developed, and it is somewhat of a larger um, desktop or tabletop Braille writer, where there are 6 keys that represent the 6 dots of the Braille cell. And the individual who's writing using the Perkins Brailler, writes by manually pushing their fingers down on the keys or the combinations to form the letters on the paper that is inserted into the Perkins Brailler manually. And
Mm.
it is portable. I would say not sure how much they weigh, but a few pounds. So it's somewhat portable. Not now the most portable, but it you can produce fairly quickly on it. Some people, not me.
That's correct. And it is a very handy device, and I use one. And it's still here at my desk. And sometimes, if I'm in a document and I am going to take a note on something, instead of creating something new, I can just bang something out in 10 seconds and have it there. And it's not going to get lost if the power goes out or if it's not saved. It's there. So um, and then, so that's paper. And I think the
Yes.
Perkins Braille was
Mhm.
used by many, and there's been a few other types of braillers that were developed. But the Perkins Braille is pretty much the standard for the majority. There's some other countries that have developed some other types of braillers. There's even an electric Perkins Brailler.
Mhm.
There's also a brailler for folks who I think are one-handed, a variety of different types Brailling devices have been developed. But one of the bigger breakthroughs with Braille was the refreshable Braille display,
Hmm.
where you get one line of Braille, but you can enter on that same device. You can read on that same device. That's worked out very well for many years.
Yes. That's more of, I think, the electronic system where, electronically it raises and lowers different combinations of pins that represent the Braille cells. Um, and it can, it's refreshable, meaning it's changing continuously as the user advances it with buttons that are on the device.
Hmm.
So,
Very easy to press keys, very comfortable to use. And majority of high school kids today are using these types of devices and trust it as their main device in many cases. But
absolutely.
um, so let's talk about the impact of Braille. We've talked about how it's produced, the impact of Braille on people who are blind.
Mhm.
What have you learned about, or what have you observed on individuals who have the Braille skill available to them?
Mhm. Uh, Braille, I think of Braille as so much more than just a code. It creates opportunity, it creates independence and education for folks. Studies have actually shown that individuals who are fluent in Braille are more likely to achieve higher levels of education and employment compared to those who rely solely on audio or large print. So that pretty remarkable and speaks to the importance of it. Um, and I think I'll share a quote that Louis Braille once said that for me really summarizes it. He said, quote, "Access to communication in the widest sense is access to knowledge, and that is vitally important for us." So,
Yeah,
um,
and I do agree with that. He is correct. And the more access you have, the more knowledge you can gain, and make Braille a um, very useful skill to know. Now, we have many of our listeners that are listening to us and may have lost their vision sometime later in life.
mhm,
And it's understandable that, you know, some of those individuals may prefer audio,
yes.
but it, if the opportunity exists to learn Braille, you might want to learn even just the alphabet, so that if you have your slate and stylus, you can punch out somebody's number. The adults, if you have the opportunity to learn a little bit of Braille, um, many years ago, I was a rehabilitation teacher, and one of my clients wanted to play cards. She felt isolated, that she couldn't play cards with her peers at the elderly housing complex she lived in. So I worked with her for a few weeks, and she learned just enough Braille to learn how to read the cards on the Braille deck, and she was able to memorize that. She had good tactile feeling in her hands. She still was able to read fairly easily, and that's all she wanted to do is play cards with her friends downstairs, and that worked out very well. She became rather very quick at recognizing whether it was a joker or a two of clubs or three of hearts, whatever it might have been, and that was enough for her. And some folks will take advantage of learning Braille just for what they need.
Mhm.
I I used Braille to do algebra and geometry. I don't know how I would have done some of those things without knowing Braille. Um, and it's proven to be handy in many cases. So it's definitely a skill that kids who are in school should focus on. Although there are many other options in today's technology, it's still a good skill to have. And as far as that goes, technology, we have a new device that's just been released about maybe close to a year now, a device called the Monarch. Now, many folks who read Braille, the complaint about the refreshable Braille display, it's always just one line. It's just one line at a time. And you put your finger in the right spot and you can keep hitting that button and it refreshes within a fraction of a second. And so you can still do pretty well at reading a document if by doing that. But this new device, the Monarch, will display 10 lines at a time before you have to hit the button to bring up another 10. And so this device is sort of the latest rage in the Braille output devices that are out there. And it is becoming, there's another device that can do 4 lines, but the big complaint with that is that it was very noisy the way that the pins refreshed. It made a lot of noise. So the Monarch seems to have solved that issue, and it's also expanded many more lines that someone can access to when they're reading or doing a presentation. So
I believe it can also show tactile graphics as well. Is that correct?
that's correct. That's correct. I when I checked it out, there was a graphic of the Eiffel Tower there that I was checking out, and there are many other graphics that are available and are being made available so that someone could actually look at pictures tactually. And some of the very historic buildings and I think it can be used for math. It can be to lay out the shapes of the different triangles and different things like that. So it's a device that's coming along, and again, we're talking about Braille. Louis Braille's birthday is in January, and this month is very important to, again, as I said at the beginning, the literacy of people who are blind, and as kids get this training in school or adults get it later on in life, it becomes very useful, and it's a skill that's definitely worth having. So I'd like to thank you, Justine, for taking time out from your busy day to come on Community Updates with us today. And
Thank you.
you have a happy new year, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And for listeners, the same back to you. You guys enjoy your new year. Hopefully it will bring lots of new opportunities and lots of new whatever it may be to you, new experiences that you may have. And I'm John Oliveira, Commissioner at the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, and we'll talk to you next time on Community Updates.